Let me talk about a few things. These are some ideas that I've had in terms of, a conservative critique of capitalism and why it's currently wanting, and maybe how we could get to a real right-wing critique of capitalism that is fruitful. And actually, I'm going to say things here that are going to be extremely shocking and elitist, so buckle up. So let me start off this way. If every nation or system has a kind of mythos, and for America, for a very long time, it was the American dream. What is that song from Miss Saigon? What's that I smell in the air? The American dream. Sweet as a chocolate eclair. The American dream.
I don't know that one. I'd sing the other part if I did.
Okay. But what is the American dream? I think it can mean a lot of different things. I think it probably had a certain essence in more of a frontier society, in which it was about expanding to kind of an open, endless, seemingly continent, and kind of almost going down levels in civilization. I think there was a certain kind of American dream. It's very interesting, very uniquely American, and also selected for a really rough type, an American type that was tougher and more ruthless, even individualistic to some extent, but also hyper bonded with his family and community in a battle against the wilderness and in some ways against foreign races and other things. I think if the American dream has any essence now, it's basically as upward mobility. And you hear all these stories. You'll hear these stories, on television and State of the Union addresses by the president, etc. And it's like, my grandpappy was a coal miner, and he just always hoped that one day his kid would go to college. Or, I'm the child of immigrants from Vietnam, and I'm a doctor now. Or, I was working as a janitor up until I was 40 years old, and then I just got my life together, and now I own the janitor company. And there are real stories like that. There's a lot of reality to all of that. But what the common thread is upward mobility. It's not downward mobility, because I hate to tell you, there's some other examples of people who, I was born in a trailer park and I died in a trailer park and my children live in a trailer park. There are also some upward mobility of, I lived in a middle-class suburb and now I can't pay rent and I'm on drugs. There are a lot of those stories that they don't tell. But the story that is told is upward mobility. Now, what are some of the implications to upward mobility? And if I could be so provocative, why might we want to start to adopt downward mobility? Because in a good way. So there's this great series of books, Farewell to Alms and The Sun Also Rises by Gregory Clark. He does these Hemingway-themed titles. For Whom the Bell Curve Tolls should probably be next. And what he talked about was this downward mobility in societies that pre-existed the Industrial Revolution. And so what he meant by that is that the rich, the most successful, the most high-born, and the most intelligent were having, by far and away, the most children. And indeed, the peasants were getting screwed and were not having children. The noble kind of had prima nocta rights, you could say, over everyone. First night privileges. He was having the children. His line was expanding. And what that type of situation led to was downward mobility. But what does that mean? That sounds bad. What does it actually mean? Well, it means that if you're the second or third son in a noble line, or wealthy line, or just an intelligent, successful line, you might very well have to go be a kind of yeoman farmer, gentleman farmer. You might even go into the city and be a shopkeeper and so on. But what happened was a kind of, genetic replacement, slow but steady over the centuries, of highborn people replacing lowborn people in those professions. And it was downward mobility. And so what this ultimately means, because all good things come from on high, it means that good, intelligent, good-looking, put-together people began replacing the criminal element, the low IQ, proletarian element were actually replaced in society, and we all became more noble as an organism. And, everyone loves the idea of upward mobility, but isn't it maybe a bit horrifying to imagine that the sons of coal mining workers are doctors? Is that really a good thing? Or would you rather hear that your doctor is the son of a noble line, a noble family? I would much rather hear the latter, although, I don't quite buy into any of these myths. And I think on another level, there's a kind of inherent problem with upward mobility, in the sense that you are going to kind of run up against a brick wall of technological innovation and intelligence, in the sense that we can, one of the things that seems to be assumed or implied by upward mobility is that fewer and fewer people are going to be, coal miners. Certainly, fewer and fewer people in the United States are farmers. Farming is industrialized to a magnificent degree, so that you don't need all of these small landholders. And so farming, now they make up a small single-digit percentage of the population, farmers. They used to make up a huge percentage of the population, probably closer to 50. It's now 5 or probably less than 5. And so we kind of think of these ideas of replacing some of these older occupations and kind of everyone moving into these higher levels of postmodern, post-industrial information work. Well, at some point, that's going to hit a dead end. It's going to hit a wall in two ways. First off, the degree to which we can continue to kind of, enter the outer realm of information manipulation is limited at some level. We can't just continually get away from the root, aspects of an economy like farming and industrial production, etc., and the major professions. But also, you hit a brick wall in terms of intelligence. In the sense of this learn to code meme, I think everyone, including probably most liberals, just cringe or laugh at the learn to code meme. Not everyone is going to make a successful iPhone app. Not everyone, to be frank, can handle that kind of mathematical grammar that you would need to code a computer program. It is ridiculous to expect that from most of the population. And so we seem to be kind of hitting this wall of both. We've touched on the outer limits of the post-industrial economy. I mean, actual innovations and inventions are declining. We've also hit the outer limits of intelligence. And I think all of these things kind of lead towards a UBI conception. UBI, by no means, is a critique of capitalism or socialism. Socialism, is that word meant something in the days of the Soviet Union. It's not. It's a way of softening the rough edges of capitalism. It is basically saying we are producing unbelievable amounts of wealth through these digital monopolies like Google or Amazon or Apple, even though Amazon and Apple have physical products, of course. You get the point. The digital age leads to this massive wealth centralization and so on. And we need to just soften that out and help out the people who won't ever be coders. and who are probably born not to be coders. Let's be frank here. So I think that's where we're headed. I think UBI is here to stay. I think we're going to have UBI actually well within our lifetimes. But I would suggest this, that if we are to form a kind of conservative critique of capitalism, if you want to call it that, we have to think of it in terms of downward mobility. And we have to think of it, dare I say it, as the great replacement. That is, we will replace you. Highborn, good-looking, intelligent people are going to move downward on the social stratum and begin creating a more noble race. And we've done this experiment after the Industrial Revolution of upward mobility. And look where it's led us. There you go.